kapag yung opponent mo is maingay, ibig sabihin mahina ang ebidensya. And at the end of the day, they would come and seek for compromise. No? Because if your evidence is strong, you keep silent. Because you want to at least get all the surprises available na talagang how to pin down your opponent, no? Or the adverse party for that matter. Para pong ilog yan kapag maingay, mababaw po, di ba? Pag malalim, tahimik. So, what I'm trying to say is that this kind of technique, yung optics nila, aside from being an optic, is a clear manifestation that their evidence rather is are actually not that strong, and pinupuna nila in order that to create an illusion or an optics to the mind of the people na mahina itong defense ng kabila. Take note that they were always also saying that they should have presented, inarrate daw dapat kung ano yung nasabi doon sa kanilang pretrial brief, sa answer, bakit daw hindi ganun. You don't comment on that. Pabayaan mo yung kalaban mo if that is their style or feeling mo is pangit yung pagkagawa. Pabayaan mo. Let them do that. You concentrate on your own, especially in a prosecution like this one, because you have the burden of proof to 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 have the respondent convicted. Then you have to concentrate on your evidence. Huwag po kayong mag-concentrate na pares kami ng witness and everything, because that happens all the time. I could also utilize their witness. We have common witnesses. And your evidence or evidence, I will also use my own evidence kahit na pareha. So it is a technique, it is a matter. No? But the moment you start complaining without even any water, which I considered as shallow things, the mga objections and manifestation, it only shows that their evidence are weak.
Opo, napag-uusapan lang yung bendalo. Yung pagbibendalo, lalo na yung naging unang pahayag ni Senador Erwin Tulfo na minsan dapat daw ibendalo. Pwede ba yung ganyan? Kahit sa anumang klase ng batas po, attorney, or stricto talaga na dapat maipatupad kahit masyakit ang batas, attorney?
Yes po. Alam mo po yung ang Latin, no? Duralex sed lex. The law is hard, but that is the law. You cannot bend it, no? In fact nga may mga ways wherein na the law may offer a little compromise. For example, if you do not declare right taxes, you will be
invited.
guilty of probably tax evasion. However, there are some sort of allowances wherein you are allowed to make legitimate deductions para matawag na tax avoidance. Pero that is not bend the law. That is provided by the law. Now, kung the law does not provide anything and you bend it, if not twist it, then that is against the law. Hindi po pwede ang bend the law.
Pero minsan ginagamit ba ito, yung pagbe-bend the law, kasi alam nila na hindi agad-agad maikokorekto at tanging ang Korte Suprema lang ang makakagawa ng pag-correct nito, pero it takes time pa. Kaya, ibenda lang muna natin. Kung magre-reklamo sila, hayaan natin yan sila. Kung may mali tayo, edi baka aabot na magiging moot ang mga
Yes.
pangyayari. Pwede bang gamitin yung mga ganyan? At meron bang sinasabi na may pananagutan sila pag laging ganyan ang ginagamit dahil sa proseso po, attorney?
Alam niyo yung tinatawag yan na intentional misinterpretation of the law or intentional misuse of the law in order to favor their own interest, and that is not allowed, no? Oftentimes they will do that. Sabi nga, no, kunyari may gumawa niyan, and then anyway, hindi pa man clear dito kasi wala pa mang pronouncement and gray area pa ito dito. We might use it until such time na mag-decide ang Supreme Court, yung pala mali tayo, sige lang, parang we will claim good faith, no? Well, a point dyan is that makikita po that there is no good faith Because if the main reason why you use, no, bakit mo gamitin or i-misinterpret ang batas in your favor because of, let's say, selective interest, personal interest, in protection or cover-up, then you will be considered in bad faith. So lahat po ng mga nangyayari doon sa time na ginawa mo yun may be invalidated, and at worst, you may be criminally responsible. Yeah, one good example that I always say during my talks and with my lectures with my students, I said, like in yung June 3, noong pong nineclare po nila Gatchalian na 23 na ang quorum at sinabi nila ang 12 is that would constitute as the quorum. Binaba po nila yung 23 na numbers, no? And they grab the power, no? Now, aking issue dyan is that whether or not they did it in good faith, considering daw sa Avelino versus Cuenco, and at the same time, yung mga past things na nangyari sa Jordan de Rilon, etc., it would taking into the whole context, yung ginawa ba nila doon, at saka yung mga corresponding na pangyayari before they formally took the true majority, yung nagkaroon ng special session, between that period, yung pong pinagagawa nila, tama po ba yon? Meron po ba yung validity ang action sila, like that the resolution na i-amend na pwede mag-choose ng presiding officer, na pinauwi yung mga empleyado, tapos in question is, meron po bang validity yung ginawa nila? That is a big issue. And now, if you look at the whole context po, Admar, is that ano ba ang purpose kung bakit nila ginawa yon? Then, their good faith purpose would be saying that gusto namin magtrabaho. Gusto namin hindi makripol ang Senado. Okay? Now, if we could prove, if the other camp would be able to prove that the purpose is really to prevent, no, the ex-soldiers to testify, then they are in bad faith. Because immediately after that, kasi binuwag ka agad and they said there is no stop ang session on Blue Ribbon Committee in order that until further notice, no? And then, nung nag-conduct na sila ng session, hindi naman din sila nagtrabaho because ang mga pinag-a-approve naman nila is ibang reorganization kaagad, no? And during sa special session, when President Marcos called, no, hindi nga na-follow yung agenda na gusto ni Marcos, na hindi naman din siya priority bills, no, in the first place. And pagdating sa special session, talagang kinuha lang nila formally yun pong upuan ni Cayetano. And thereafter, ang first legislation nila was to declare Waling-Waling as our national orchid.
Opo. Pero dito tayo sa ibang issue naman.
Sige po.
Attorney, no. Unahin ko lang muna, bilang taga Davao rin, may pangyayari nga doon sa Tacloban, no. Nagbigay ng pahayag si Vice President Sara Duterte na may nakikita siyang kakulangan sa side ng government. Sumagot na naman ang government, ang may kasalanan ang mga Duterte. Ano po ang masasabi niyo po rito, Attorney? Imbis na harapin, gumawa ng hakbang. Actually, nagkalat din ito sa social media na dahil naging violente daw yung mga kabataan ngayon dahil sa panahon ni former President Rodrigo Duterte.
Actually, yun nga ang always ko kina-complain because she is not acting talaga as a spokesperson, no? Ang kanyang ginagawa is that every time there is a statement on the part of VP Sara and the Dutertes, she feels that it is an attack against her boss na si President Bongbong Marcos, no? And automatic po kanya na default po na kanyang sagot would be to defend it, no? Yan, sabi kaagad kayo, bakit in 2019 merong nangyari na ganung barilan, bakit walang nagawa? Hindi naman po yun ang ibig sabihin. The failure of the government not only refers to this instance government, but all government. Because we have to understand na ito pong batas natin on juvenile, no? Juvenile law natin is very, very masalimot. Because it is always a case-to-case basis. This is not a fixed law. Hindi katulad po, no, kung pagsabihin natin sa National Internal Revenue Code natin, pag sinabi natin, magkano ang capital gain tax? 6%. O, yun lang, fixed na yan. But this one, it involves so much dynamics, no? One situation that may happen in Tacloban may be different in Davao, and it would probably differ on the facilities, yung bahay pag-asa nila, and how the social worker works there. Kasi iba man ang nag-work sa kabila and everything. So, ibig sabihin po, it always teaches us na dapat po strengthen po natin yung batas ng juvenile law natin. And by doing that, we have to seek those happenings na nangyari not only during this administration, including all past, no? Because sino ba ang government na may gusto nito? Hindi man ito matter that we would want, no? And we have to understand that nagkakaroon po tayo ng tinatawag na generation gaps, Admar. Like for me, I am a baby boomer. Then after that, nagkaroon po tayo ng tinatawag na mga millennials. Then nagkaroon tayo ng Gen Z. And I think Gen Z ito sila. And then we have this now, the Gen Alpha, no? So what I'm trying to say is that, no, you know, these children, when they were born, they do not know about the past 1972 martial law. They don't know about the war. They were not there. And when they woke up, meron na silang ganito, gadgets, and dependent on this gadget. So, meron po tayong tinatawag na generation gap. This must be filled in. So, in each particular government na dadaan po dyan, may kanya-kanya po yan silang pagsubok. Kaya nga, natawa na naman ako. That's why I do not listen to her anymore kay spokesperson Claire Castro, because puro ad hominem, in defense kaagad sa boss niya. Default niya yan eh. Hindi default, nasagot niya kagad automatic. But hindi yun ang issue. Ang issue nito, how can the government now? It is not even ang enforcement ng problem. It's even the law that I see some loopholes that should be addressed to strengthen it. Hindi po ito isang ang executive department lang ang bantayan. Ang dami po. Ano pa yung mga basic units natin? Family, it starts there. Sa barangay, sa ating community, sa school, yun ang mga bagay na natin i-take care. Pati ang batas itself, no? Because we have to admit that this possibility, mangyayari ito ulit. Hindi man ito yung once lang ito mangyari, no? Because of the problem. So, dapat magtulungan. Pero ang kanyang default answer, sisihin kagad ang mga Duterte. Yun ang, that's why I do not listen to her anymore, Admar.
Oo nga po, parang laging handa, no, na ibinaback to you na kumbaga parang sumatotal, Duterte pa rin talaga may kasalanan. Pero napag-uusapan na po itong juvenile justice. Nagre-resurface ulit yung mga dating clips or videos na nag-explain si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte kasi kabilang siya sa mga pumuna rito. At may say talaga siya kasi minsan siyang naging pinuno ng isang malaking syudad. Ang makaka-relate nito ng husto at mas kumbaga nasa front line kung ito nga bang batas na ito ay epektibo o hindi, is mismo ang pagiging mayor sa mahabang panahon. Nakita niya. Actually, doon ako sa Davao City nung kasi 2008 hanggang 2013 ako sa Davao. Meron ding mga pasaway ng mga CICL doon. At sa pag-monitor ko kasi naging field reporter ako, yung ibang mga menor de edad nagdadala ng mga birth certificate kasi alam nila na wala silang magiging kasalanan na po. So, dahil dito, dapat maging flexible ang atin sigurong legislative at executive na ito ay maamyenda imbis na lagi na lang dedepensahan itong mga ganito. Kasi nga sa pag-usad ng kagaya sa teknolohiya, dati wala tayong mga gadgets, TV lang, pwede nating malimit yung pinapanood ng isang bata eh. Kasi television lang yung babantayan mo, pwede siyang hindi alam niyo na yung mga napapanood no na ngayon kahit nabantayan mo yung TV niyo, ang dami magbabantay ka sa internet cafe, cellphone, tablet, desktop, marami ka nang babantayan po attorney. Ano masasabi niyo po dito sa mga ganito?
That's true, no? In fact, meron akong mga anak ngayon, Gen Alpha yan sila eh. And really, when they were born, nandiyan na yung gadget eh. And we cannot stop that. So, ang aking suggestion po sana is that everything should start from the parents kasi, no? How you talk to your children and explain and give them history about the generations, no? Because kailangan i-bring mo sila doon sa yung gap na yun, ma-fill in yun para yung story of what happened, no? Bakit, paano ako, paano kami pinalaki ng parents, ano yung nangyari noong unang panahon, so that they would understand clearly, no? Because ito pong mga readings na pinag-aaralan ko nabasa ko po sa mga psychology nito, mga bata na ito, is that sometimes they do not understand, katulad nung sa baby boomers, is that we suck it up. No? Kung sakaling merong problema, pagkasahin mo yan, ayusin mo yan, and, di ba, tabi mo, walang TV. And then, pag lumabas kayo, basta gabi, uwi ka na before para magkain, sabay, ganun. Iba po yung rules noon, iba po yung rules ngayon. And they have to understand that, so that the moment they understand that, they tend also to adapt and somehow cooperate with the kind of discipline that the parents are going to introduce to them. At the same time, the parents would also understand them because they are born that way. It's a two-way process, no? So that in order that na maging maganda. At the same time, it's the law itself, yung created natin, itong juvenile law natin, yung Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act 2006 pa ito, although amended na ito ng Republic Act 10630. However, I think we need to revisit this one, no? Ang issue dito po, Admar, is actually yung age of criminal responsibility. Yan ang pinag-aawayan ngayon, no? And sabi nila, hindi, kasi alam na nila na may kasalanan yan sila. Kunyari, 13 years old. Bakit sila exempt from criminal liability, no? And then, they would say na since exempt from criminal liability, alam man yung ginagawa niya. We have to understand that during that 13, meron na ba siyang discernment na mabilis niya na maintindihan na mali at tama ang ginawa niya as compared nung panahon, let's say, ng millennials, na papasok pa lang ang technology noon, na pwedeng sabihin natin at 30 noon, exempt pa talaga sa criminal responsibility. What I'm trying to say is that alam natin, immature sila, but the knowledge of right and wrong mas mabilis na po maintindihan ng mga bata ngayon because of the gadgets, because of the social media, because of our technology right now. So, yun po ang dapat i-assess. No? Hindi po pag-awayan ang issue na even if, let's say, ito mga bata na ito, they committed a crime. In fact, I saw in the text messages nila between the two, and parang, baka maano tayo, because baka hindi tayo makulong nito because we are minors, no? Mayroong ganong statement. So, how did they get that? They got that from the social media. And they got that through internet. They got that through ChatGPT. And siyempre, magsasagot sa kanila. So, akala nila, ang ugali ng mga bata na yan, ganyan ngayon, mga Gen Z, is that bugso ng damdamin, i-push nila. Tapos, ang ending, yun ang remorse, ang kanyang pagsisi sa ending, nagawa na. So, what I'm trying to say is that we have to prevent that. And by saying that they should know that these children, that they have discerned in doing that, na meron pong kaakibat na punishment. Not necessary penalty na makukulong, no? The punishment in the sense that for every action, there is always a consequent reaction on what you did. Hindi po pwedeng tablayan. Kasi ang pangit, hindi ang pangit, no? Ang problem with this law is that this law protects and favors the CICL, right? But it does not somehow give importance to the victims. Walang batas for the victims eh. Paano mo ipa-understand sa magulang ng mga bata na nawala dahil nung pangyayari na ganoon ang pangyayari, di ba? Na para sabihin mo lang, sige, may restitution man, ganito lang ba? No. Kailangan din, meron ding somehow itimbangin ba? Because that law actually just favors the CICL. So, kailangan po maintindihan din ng parents, bakit merong ganyang klase? Di
Opo.
ba? Magulo, Admar.
Opo.
Actually, this is very masalimuot ito na batas.
Pero ito, attorney, no, huli na lang para dito sa topic na ito.
It's okay.
What if, di ko lang alam kung meron bang ganitong sistema sa ilalim ng batas na antayin na lang siya na mag-legal age at doon siya haharap sa kanyang mga consequences. Pwede ba yon?
Yes po. Meron tayo tinatawag na suspended sentence rule. Now, siyempre, sa ngayon, ang batas natin is 15 and below is exempt from criminal liability. So, hindi yan, no? So, yung more than 15 but less than 18, if they commit a crime, kung less serious lang, walang problema kasi intervention lang yan eh. Magpunta lang yan sa barangay and everything. Now, let us go to the serious offenses. Like, alam natin yung serious offenses, yung mga heinous offenses, hindi natin i-mention. The thing is that it has to go to the family court. Ipa-file talaga ang kaso niyan. And then, magkakaroon talaga ng trial. And the moment na matrial yan siya, kung meron ng sentensya, isususpend yan ng court. And if force yan siya ngayon into that intervention, ipapasok sila sa bahay pag-asa. At meron na tayong tinatawag na intensive na intervention program nila, no? And within that period po, no, di siya makakalabas diyan, tapos dadaan siya ng iba't ibang klase, no, na mga interventions na merong pag-aaral doon sa loob, ang family will have to be part of it, and then meron pang maraming mga gagawin doon, no. Then before that, no, magkakaroon po ng report yan sa court. Pagpunta doon sa court, the social worker will send a report and magkakandak po ng hearing ang korte niyan, together with the prosecution and everything, and determine kung ano nangyari. So if the report says remorseful siya at okay na ito siya and everything, ito ang hindi maintindihan ng mga mother ng biktima. Sabihin ng court, o sige, nag-remorse na siya, na-rehabilitate na, pwede na siya i-reintegrate, i-dismiss ang kaso. Or, on the other hand, if the court says, I don't believe, kailangan i-proceed pa tayo ng intervention pa, proceed pa natin ang rehabilitate. And then, pagkatapos noon, before reaching 21, talagang either incorrigible, hindi talaga magbago, or second, is that the court doesn't believe talaga nagbabago itong bata na ito. When reaching at the age of that period, pwede po siya ipa-execute na ang sentensya sa heinous crime na yan. Kaya lang, ang problem kasi nito, ang discretion, mataas masyado ang discretion sa judge, tapos sa social workers report, at saka sa police and the prosecution. So, careful tayo ba? Kasi one government unit, let's say LGU, highly organized unit na maganda ang kanilang facilities in having this intervention, may be different from the other provinces na mahina ang kanilang facilities. Kasi ang LGU kasi ang mandated to create paano kung mahina ang finance? So, highly organized, okay lang. Yung how about yung hindi? So, mag-iiba po, magbabari. At saka yung mga personal na hinire, mga social worker, may be different from the others. No? So, iba-iba. No? So, hindi nga siya sa fix. No? Kaya nga, magtaka iba, doon na sentensyahan, dito na excuse siya or na discharge siya or na paalis siya. Paano mo i-explain ngayon dun sa biktima, sa family ng victims? Yun ang problem, hindi yan na-address ng batas at hindi rin na-address yan ng executive department on how also to conduct psychology or intervention on the part of the victim families. Kasi kailangan meron din silang intervention at meron din karapat-dapat na part ang government na aside from intervention, dapat meron din silang tulong na ibigay na doon po sa pamilya ng mga biktima.
Yun nga ang nakikita ko na parang mahirap
Yes.
sa side ng sa side ng kamag-anak na naiwan,
Yes.
lalo na kung napuruhan talaga yung
Yes.
biktima. Kasi ang batas is more on paano maalagaan ang minor de edad na nagkasala. Pero di ko makita kung dito sa side ng family na
Yes.
nakita niya yung future ng kanyang anak nawala, yung
Yes.
mga plano nila, yung trauma na naidulot,
Yes.
parang walang pakonsuelo sa kanila kahit kaya nga
Walang intervention at
yun nga kahit na yung pagkakakulong, kahit yun man lang, at least hindi nga makaka-satisfy yan sa isang magulang na nawala ng anak.
True.
Walang ganun tayo na parang ma-at-ease yung mga magulang. Dala-dala ng magulang yan lalo na pag mga
Yes.
ganyan na ang edad, napakadami ng plano mo sa iyong anak tapos bigla na lang mapuputol dahil sa ganyan po, attorney.
Yun nga po. In fact, one example, kanina nasa pagkainan kami ng mga kaibigan ko, nag-usap kami. How about, let's say, involving a child na nabiging biktima ng yung ang pang-abuso. Intindihan natin yung ibig ko sabihin, no? And the problem is that the one who committed the offense is a minor. Let's say, mga 16. So, okay, papailan ka ng kaso because it's heinous crime. But, okay, the suspended sentence and everything. But, How about doon nga, sabi mo, tama yun sa'yo, yung trauma ng bata na naabuso. Meron ba tayong diversion wherein meron pong psychology na i-offer ang government, a psychiatrist, or ano ba yung intervention nila sa labas na matulungan din natin po yung biktima, kung buhay man siya, o part ng abuso, is that baka move on din siya sa buhay niya. At maging, di ba? Kasi he will be carrying that stigma for the rest of her life. Paano niya paano niya idadalhin niya sarili? Ang most cases, ang nakakatakot if they commit something wrong physically against themselves. Dahil na-depress na sila. Dapat meron po counterpart na gano'n na iba po, no? For this particular, must be a particular law for that also sana.
Opo. Dito na tayo sa huling topic po,
Sige
attorney,
po,
no,
no problem.
patungkol dito nga po sa impeachment. Marami na tayong mga naririnig, no. Actually, natalakay na natin ito nung unang parte, kaso nga lang marami pang mga pahayag, no. Unang-una nila yung mabigat yung yung tunog lata, at ngayon naman meron na namang parang pinapakialaman na ba ng prosecution yung diskarte ng depensa, sinasabing nangongopya o bakit ginagaya yung aming mga ganito. Meron pa silang sinasabi na bakit hindi na lang same lang yung pag mark nito, same lang din naman yung gagamitin natin. Pumalag dito ang sa side ng depensa. Parang ang nakikita ng ating mga kababayan dito, bakit yung pinapakialaman yung sa side ng depensa? Halimbawa, pinupunan ninyo, either pinupunan ninyo or gusto ninyo mangyari, yung gusto ninyo mangyari na gawin ng depensa. Attorney, ano masasabi niyo po rito?
Alam mo, Admar, no? Ganda yan, no? I've been into litigation practice for about 27 years. And this is always I say, kapag yung opponent mo is maingay, ibig sabihin, mahina ang ebidensya. And at the end of the day, they would come and seek for compromise. No? Because if your evidence is strong, you keep silent. Because you want to at least get all the surprises available na talagang how to pin down your opponent, no? Or the adverse party for that matter. Para pong ilog yan Kapag maingay, mababaw po, di ba? Pag malalim, tahimik. So, what I'm trying to say is that this kind of technique, yung optics nila, aside from being an optic, is a clear manifestation that their evidence rather is are actually not that strong. And pinupuna nila in order to create an illusion or an optics to the mind of the people na mahina itong defense ng kabila. Take note that they were always also saying that they should have presented, in-narrate daw dapat kung ano yung nasabi doon sa kanilang pretrial brief, sa answer, bakit daw hindi ganun. You don't comment on that. Pabayaan mo yung kalaban mo if that is their style or feeling mo is pangit yung pagkagawa. Pabayaan mo. Let them do that. You concentrate on your own, especially in a prosecution like this one, because you have the burden of proof to have the respondent convicted. Then you have to concentrate on your evidence. Huwag po kayong mag-concentrate na pares kami ng witness and everything because that happens all the time. I could also utilize their witness. We have common witnesses. And your evidence or evidence, I will also use my own evidence kahit na pareha. So it is a technique, it is a matter. No? But the moment you start complaining without even any water, which I considered as shallow things, the mga objections and manifestation, it only shows that their evidence are weak.
Yun nga po, no? Pero yung dahil ba hindi lang sila sasalang sa impeachment court, kundi maging sa court of public opinion, kaya nadadagdagan itong maliban sa pagpresenta, paghahanda ng ebidensya, pati yung mga propaganda, mga pahayag, kasama po dito. Kasi alam natin, ang impeachment court kasi hindi yan kagaya talaga ng regular na korte.
Yes.
May halong politika yan, manunood, malimit, heavily publicized talaga yan. So makikita, mapapanood ng taong bayan. Kaya kailangan ng ganito, parang kagaya sa panahon ng digmaan, na meron ding mga propaganda. Halimbawa, dito lang sa nangyari sa US at Iran, may kanya-kanya silang mga propaganda at mga pahayag. Attorney, tama po ba?
Yes, that's true. Akin naman, if that is the style of the prosecution, hindi subtle ang pagkagawa nila ng optics. They are going to the point of propaganda na that would involve, meron naman silang grupo na nagagawa ng optics na ganyan. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to maintain that kind of parang integrity at saka yung kagalingan mo para sa perception ng tao na malakas sila, then you should at least look like that, no? Na tingnan mo ang defense ng grupo is that very calm when they talk direct to the point in the law. And we know for a fact na meron din silang mga at the back. It's possible na somebody or voluntary nagka-propaganda in favor of the defense. But that is that one thing na hindi nila ginagalaw. They always say, we cannot comment on that because it should be done. We will file our response and everything. It makes them more professional. On the other side of the camp, ng grupo ng prosecution, nangyayari tuloy is nakikita silang nakikipag-away na parang bata. Hindi sila nagiging professional tingnan, no? Except for a few, no? But karamihan is that, because probably, aside from the fact that yun din ang kaya nila na engagement. But take note ha, may nabasa ako and parang sinabi nga doon, meron ako narinig na yung pala mag-appearance lang pala sila doon, pakita, then aalis, iiwan na sa private prosecution. Yung maingay naman pala is yun pala yung nag-appearance lang. But you did not hear from the private prosecutors what they are saying, di ba? So ibig sabihin, the private prosecutors knows that they have to stick with what the law and evidence nila meron. And they have to keep the records sa kanila. So, sila po yung mga nasa mababatas na members sa prosecution, yung iilan lang naman, hindi naman lahat, is that pagkatapos the appearance, lalabas pala para magpa-press con lang. No? So, that is something na technique na, well, sa akin naman kasi, Admar, I feel that they are making mistake. But if they are my opponent, pabayaan mo po sila magkaroon ng this much mistakes. When somebody is making mistakes, do not stop them. Let it be. No?
Opo. Huli na lang, meron po
Sure.
bang paliwanag, attorney, kung bakit kailangan ng 2/3 or super majority para ma-convict, para ma-impeach ang isang impeachable official?
Because the Constitution said so. Wala tayong magawa niyan eh. Sabi kasi ng Constitution, 2/3 of all the members of Congress. I-try po ninyo, sa lahat po ng nanonood dito ngayon, try nyo po i-search sa Gemini, search nyo sa ChatGPT, sa Google and everything, ano ang meaning niyan. And it always lead to the saying that all members, supposing there are 24 members, how many is 2/3 of all the members of the Senate? Then they would say it's 16. How about if there are already 23 members of the Senate dahil namatay ang isa? Then, ang computation, constitutional denominator would be 23. Because it is always the members of the Senate. Now, those people advancing that it must be flexible, it is not written in stone and everything, you have to look at their backgrounds. Lahat po sila niyan is talagang almost all of them are aligned with the desire, with the same desire to remove BP Inday. Dito naman sa amin na side is that even if they are not aligned with BP Inday yung iba, if they just follow the Constitution and what it says, yun ang sinasabi eh. And they have to follow that, no? Because that is what the Constitution says. Meron tayong principle po na kapag hindi po sinabi, wag niyo po dagdagan. Kasi parang gusto nila unless, ganyan na interpret. Hindi, wala kasi in-interpret na ganun eh. So, wala kasing sinabing yun, wag na po nating dagdagan.
Opo, clarify ko lang po,
Yes.
attorney, no? Mali na naman yung 2/3 doon. Pero wala bang talagang paliwanag, lalo na doon sa mga framers, yung pinaka-essence, pinaka-espiritu, pinaka-kaluluwa, bakit napili nila na 2/3 talaga ang ilagay nila doon?
Actually, ni-search ko yan siya dito, Admar, no? And I think I still have my research here. Kasi ang discussion at the time by the framers, kasi tinignan ko doon sa website ng Supreme Court, no? Ah, yun ang konti lang passing nga eh. Dumating lang, hindi nga talaga pinag-usapan yun siya. And I think that the main reason this was done, parang, is to protect. No? The main reason is to protect the unceremonious or parang yung paggamit ng impeachment proceedings to politically attack an opponent. Because we know for a fact this is political in nature also. In order that yung mapapailan lang ng kaso po, Admar, is a person or impeachable official that has committed a serious wrong that it is considered as so culpable at even the public would say that he did something wrong, not so grave that he or she must be removed from office. So that is the purpose, though. That's the reason the highest given of yung 2/3 na parang protection. No? That is the tawag na you need to have a supermajority to make sure na yung tatanggalin po is not for purposes of na politically motivated, but really that particular person committed a wrong that is so much grave and actually a culpable violation of the Constitution. Binasa ko po yung primer sinabi yung mga statements sila doon and dinaanan lang talaga yan siya. And I think they inserted that in order that that is really the intention, no, to make it very, very much difficult to remove an official para wala po yung gamitin for political purposes or political persecution.
Napakalinaw, attorney.
Salamat po.
Saan ba masusundan ang mga opinion, komento, mga legal opinions niyo po? Anong pahina sa social media, attorney? Pwede niyo pong banggitin sa kasalukuyan dahil marami tayong nanonood ngayon.
Maraming salamat po. Sa ano lang naman, as usual, kaibigan tayo sa Facebook, Attorney Raymond Batu, nasa Facebook lang naman ako. And sometimes, Admar, most cases talaga, Admar, dito sa yung channel, this is yung program kasi ikaw yung nag-invite sa akin a longer period na ganitong makakapag-usap tayo. And maganda rin po kasi ang mga questions mo, that's why na-express ko mabuti. But meron din ako mga postings din doon po sa aking Facebook, which is Attorney Raymond Batu. Yun lang po.